Hello.
Hello.
That's all I got. It was fun. We'll see you guys next week. That might be all I've prepared. How? Okay. Hello, everyone who may be here or may be watching. Hello to you guys who are here in this room with me. How are you?
I'm straight up drinking the worst cup of coffee I've ever had in my whole life.
Oh God, that reminds me. I just made a cup of coffee and I forgot to get it.
Yeah, well,
So
it
I need to
probably,
go.
yeah. I hope it doesn't taste like mine because I decided to clean the coffee pot with vinegar and I apparently didn't wash it out. So now I have a hot vinegar drink with a twist of sweet Italian cream. It is horrific.
That is not the right. So okay, so what made you want to clean it out with vinegar instead of like
Well,
something
because
that wouldn't be?
that's the best way to do it is with vinegar because it's it's a disinfectant, it's a antibacterial, and it cleans really well, and I've done it a million times and not had this problem.
Hey, what, you just forgot to, when they say rinse and repeat, you forgot to do
I,
that
I, I
that
forgot to
step?
repeat. I got the rinse, but I didn't do the
Oh,
repeat. And so
you got the
now
first
this I,
rinse.
I have a cup of repeat right here. It's so bad.
Oh, okay. It's rare that we get to taste the consequences of our lack of actions. That's
Yeah, yeah,
poetic in
it's
a way.
bad. I
Well,
keep I keep
I
hoping it'll get better.
true. I'm all out of whack. My audio is not in sync with my video, and my video is pausing a bunch. So I'm sorry about that. We have people in here. Hello, Samantha Springman, Mythical.
Hello,
How are you
Samantha.
guys?
Hello,
I'm so glad to see
Mythical.
you guys came in
Yes.
from Silky's channel to come give us a visit. Um,
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about, which I changed the title a couple of times. I believe it's something. Um, is happiness a lie? And yeah, I think that's what it was. And the thing is that I think for most of us, there's someone mowing the lawn outside of my. I don't know if you hear that, but I think for most of us, it's difficult to find happiness, and especially once we do, it's particularly difficult to hold on to it. You know, I think the biggest misconception is that happiness is constant because, I think, which I mean, this may be something to say later, but I think that happiness really can only be captured in moments. What do you guys think about that?
No, Samantha, we do not have any mods yet. Actually, we don't really have any people, so we didn't even think
Yeah.
about
If
it.
I look forward to being popular enough to troll. So I'll go modless until it gets to be too much to bear. But you guys, I asked y'all a question. Now answer me. All right.
What was the
I asked you.
question?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I thought. You weren't listening.
I was listening,
Uh,
but then I was looking at Samantha's comment.
yeah. All right. Well, the question was misconception is that happiness is attainable or that it's something you live in. But I'm more of the mindset or the belief that happiness is something you can really only capture in moments. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I think, in my opinion, you if you lived in a state of happiness, I don't know if you'd actually know what you would you actually know what happiness is because it would just be a constant.
That's an interesting philosophical question. Almost once you become happy for a little bit, is your threshold to require happiness raised?
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
when your baseline happy is actually just neutral, then why doesn't sadness work like that? Like like if I have someone close to me pass away, why do I still get like upset if I stub my toe or if my friend hasn't called me in a while?
I think unhappiness has no limit.
Well, so that's the thing is why is that? Like why is it so difficult to maintain happiness or joy, but it's super difficult to avoid feeling sad about anything all the time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get where we're going, and I kind of thought this was about satisfaction, which is about the same thing. To be satisfied and happy, are they the same thing? I don't know.
They're
Uh,
similar. I mean, we can break it down in the way that right now we're talking about happiness, but I think satisfaction is, you know, you could look at it as maintaining a positive neutral state after you've attained happiness instead of just going back to neutral or apathy or feeling nothing, which I feel like is what causes people to want to reach forward and keep pursuing even if they've reached their goals. You know what
okay,
I'm
let me
saying?
ask you this though: can you be satisfied but not really happy? I'm gonna bungle your
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah, I think satisfaction is the step that you have to reach before you can be happy, or before you can reach happiness. Unless,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
I guess it depends on how you define happy. You know, I look at it the same way that I look at like things that make me laugh. You know, there are weird things that make me laugh. I don't typically like regular comedy, or I mean, I love watching stand up and I love jokes and memes and stuff. But the kind of the kind of things that make me laugh, uh, they have to meet like a certain criteria, and then I'm like satisfied with the criteria, and then the joy of laughter will erupt from me. Does that make any sense? I'll give you an example if you're curious. The
Yes.
other day I went to Walmart, and I was in line at the pharmacy. At the pharmacy, I didn't know if it was what it was called. And they had just done some remodeling, and they had these monitors they put up. They were like literally 20 feet off the ground, like on the wall, 20 feet in the air. And when I get in line, it has a chart that says, point to your language for assistance. And it's 20 feet away. So it's like, exactly. So imagine being, foreign.
Short
and not-
like me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can be 7 feet tall. That thing still. So the thing is imagine not, English not being your native language, and you need assistance, and you need medication that may save your life, and it's like, how do I, communicate with them? I speak Portuguese. Point to your language, and you're just pointing vaguely far away, and that's to me that's hilarious, because someone had to pick the location, someone had to install it, someone had to program the machine, and none of those people said, why is this up here? But anyway, I think that's
That was a moment of happiness. That would have been a moment of happiness for me. Absolutely. Because of the ridiculous humor, the ridiculous situation. I find great joy in weirdness. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I do.
Oh
I
yeah.
find great pleasure in that. It's like,
I find great joy in just like and what is it? It's like incompetence, but to like a hysterical level. Like
yes.
something that's like so easily solved, but no one. That's not my job. I don't sign the checks. I don't. I didn't sign the documents or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. A couple people had some things to say. Let's see. We asked why we run out of happiness, essentially, and Mythical said because we're human and have a conscience, and we were talking about I don't know, it's just strange to me that it goes one way only so much, but it goes the other way in a negative direction, like nearly infinitely. I don't know how to solve that. I guess people that don't
Yeah.
seem to have a conscience could possibly be happy or miserable all the time. I mean, I don't know. What do you think cats feel?
I don't know. I think Colton is feeling miserable. I don't know what's going on over there.
Well, I'm
It
trying
looks
to.
like he's
I'm trying to
enjoying.
figure it out without interrupting everybody. I can't hear Josiah, and I'm trying to read his lips.
Oh no.
Um,
You
can
might
hear him
have to
better if I get like really close to the speaker. I can hear, but
you might have to close out. You do have buttons, I think, down here. To let's see.
we've recently moved to this streaming platform, and who knows what kind of issues we have. I was wondering if I was too quiet. I'm gonna
You might have to
another
back
problem
out
that
and come back in.
me or him.
Colton.
Right.
Okay, I can hear myself on the live. Okay, cool. So I don't actually have articles ready. I don't actually have the ability to pull up articles ready, actually.
I
But
do. That's
you
why I'm
do.
here. I do. That's why I
I
am here.
really
Um,
appreciate you.
and this was an article because I told you I would find some articles about happiness and satisfaction, and I do think that they may not be the same, but my question was, why are we so unsatisfied with everything? What is it about us humans? So let me see if I can do this. Um,
Oh,
is that in the right place? Oh, it is. Look at this. Yeah. So the reason that I like this was a horrific story. Okay, I heard this, and first of all, I'm big on true crime, and I do a lot of stuff on body parts. I don't really mean to; it just seems to come up. But this is a heartbreaking story. I know, right? It's a weirdo. And this was just in August 19th of this year. Okay, so a woman goes to Turkey to have a BBL. That is, for those who don't know what BBL stands for, it's Brazilian butt lift. Okay. And that's all okay, first of all, let me just say, I do not understand this trend. I women with humongous butts. I don't get it. I really, I mean, but I'm not a man, I don't know. But back in my day, back in the 1800s, you wanted to have a small fanny. Having a large bottom was not a good thing. But now people they're desperate for these BBLs. And, they're quite expensive. And let me just say this disclaimer for I've watched a lot of videos and seen a lot of medical stuff. Just women out there, before you get a BBL, one thing you need to know is they smell. And they are, I mean, I don't want to be gross, but they're almost impossible to clean. Okay. It's hard to keep them, and there's a lot of problems with it. But this
you mean a
woman,
prosthetic butt? Is that what you're saying? Is
well,
difficult to clean?
well, yeah, because it's so large, but it's not really prosthetic. It's what they do is they take fat, like maybe from your stomach, or I don't know, wherever you got excess fat. They take it out of there and they inject it into your, bottom and hips or whatever. And, some people, excuse me, have enormous BBLs. Like they're huge. And the problem is you will never gain weight in the place. Like if you have it sucked out of your stomach and put in your butt and then you gain weight, you don't gain weight all over like normal people. Your butt just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's hard to maintain. It's hard to clean. Because, I mean, you can imagine. But this is
I
the
wouldn't
rage.
like to. I'd rather not.
Mythical says,
But
I'll keep my old behind that's gone south. Me too. Me too.
yeah.
Like,
Boy,
but
oh
here's the
boy.
thing. This is like, it's huge. And I think that maybe the Kardashians started this trend, but so many people, and it's not just bottoms, people want, breast enhancements, and like they want a lot of plastic surgery, Botox, whatever. It's quite expensive and insurance doesn't pay for it. So this woman, okay, now this is from Atlanta. Do you want me to read it or do you want to read it? I think you should
Go
read
ahead.
it.
Okay, I can't scroll it though.
Okay. All right. Just
All right.
start with the there you go.
Will do. Surgery and body has returned missing organs. The body. Oh yeah. Okay. Woman's sister in shock after this happened. The body
Yeah.
of a 38-year-old British woman who passed away during cosmetic surgery in Turkey was reportedly returned to her home, missing parts of some vital organ. I'm sorry. hold on a second. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop you right there. I thought she was just missing the parts, which is already it's awful to say. That's understandable, but she's missing parts of her vital organs.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's gonna get it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse when you
okay.
see what happened.
Kaydell
Absolutely.
Brown uh, passed away on the operating table at the clinic expert and sorry, the clinic. That's funny to me that they're the experts in
Yeah.
Istanbul on March 26th. I told you a second ago. It's like avoidable incompetence. It makes me laugh. Sorry, it's a bad time to laugh. She paid £5,400 to travel to Istanbul for a mummy mot, which is an all-in-one operation that involves getting a Brazilian butt lift, a tummy tuck, and a boob job in one day. That is unreal because that is
Yes.
for me to sign on board with that. I'd have to be in like perfect physical condition to think like I'm going to do all of those things in a single, I don't know, 12-hour time span.
Yeah. I mean, like one surgery is bad enough. You can have complications from anything, breast augmentation. I mean, but then you're getting the butt done and you're getting a like I can't imagine doing this in one day. My God.
Seriously. I'm curious about this real quick. Samantha Springman said, has anybody heard about the breast implants problems over the last few years? I haven't heard about them, but if this story is anything to go by, I am remaining dubious to getting myself a boob job. I always wanted one, but now I'm a little skeptical. Might be a little dangerous. Brown's sister, Leanne, traveled with her sister to support.
Okay, wait. You have to clarify that because people are going to be out here thinking you want like implants. You want some.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
But I know
What is-
that's not
okay.
what you mean.
I thought.
You want boobs?
I thought every man wants to like. I thought the deal was every man wants to like play around, get a feel up. It's like,
So you're just going to
why
grow
wouldn't
your
I?
own?
Well, I wouldn't grow them, no, but yeah, I'd plant them for sure. I don't know if I could get them to grow though. Uh, Brown's sister, Leanne, traveled with her sister to support her through the surgery. She recounted the exact time when Kaydell walked into the clinic, followed by the harrowing moments hours later when the surgeons came out of the surgery room to tell her about the complications that developed during the procedures. Quote, she went in for surgery about 9:30 a.m. and that was the last time I saw her, Leanne Brown told ITV, I guess it's whoever this is. They took me to a room and they just started trying to say, there's complications with surgery. Things can happen. And I asked, has my sister died? And he just said, I'm sorry, but yeah.
I mean,
what the hell?
I know, right?
Oh, yeah, it looks that way.
Sorry.
Sorry about your luck.
I know.
Jeez,
Sorry,
man.
but yeah, she did.
Oh, sorry. It looks like we just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies. Anyway, Leanne said she didn't have much time to process the deeply shocking and unexpected news as clinic staffers handed her an envelope full of money and a one-way plane ticket back home. Quote, they just gave me an envelope and said, here's your money back and here's your sister's money back and here's your flight. It's like, sorry, she's dead. Here's your plane ticket, Leanne said. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly.
Sorry, yeah, that's like that response is like, it is with a heavy heart. No, it's nothing like that. It's like, yeah, anyway. Oh boy, Leanne said what compounded her grief and mistrust was the clinic's refusal to provide access to Kaydell's body. That should be illegal, right? Well, what do you mean?
You
When
would think.
Kaydell's body was finally returned to the UK, a coroner discovered that it was missing large parts of her brain, lungs, and heart. Okay, what part of the tummy tuck required removal of the brain?
None.
I figured.
None.
I
I could say I know I was too, but I'm not gonna do it. I am not gonna do it. I'm gonna stay away from there. But we're probably on the same train of thought.
I gotta have some vision to get in there. Anyway, let's see. The clinic rejected. Wait. When they returned her body, they kept pieces of her heart and her intestines. And that could show the cause of death, but we might not know because they're not very cooperative. Yeah, I can imagine. The clinic rejected any allegations that it removed and kept organs before it turned Kadel's body over to a coroner's office in Turkey, which implies that they're implying that she came in missing those things. No evidence of organ trauma was found. We have handed the body untouched to the coroner's office in Turkey, the clinic told us. It is highly possible parts were removed while trying to determine the cause of death. So they're blaming it on the coroner, I guess. The office sent a death certificate to the family, citing no cause of death, but later insisted that her death was due to surgery complications, not medical malpractice. It was just complications. What a good umbrella term.
Yeah.
An internal investigation found no malpractice. Investigated by the clinic or
Yes. The clinic did
so
an
they
internal
investigated
investigation.
themselves and they said,
Yes.
nope, no problems here.
Yeah,
Okay, just wanted to
exactly.
clarify.
Exactly.
That's what
yeah.
I thought. That's what I thought I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
They found no malpractice, and Kadel's death was likely caused by fat blocking a blood vessel, which can occur during this type of surgery. The clinic spokesperson reported that out of more than 23,000 aesthetic surgeries its surgeons have done for Turkish and international patients over the last 13 years, only 2 patients have died. More than 1 million people travel to Turkey for medical procedures every year, including 150,000 British citizens. According to Foreign Office Travels, 28 British citizens have died in Turkey from cosmetic surgery complications since 2019. The UK government has been actively engaging with the Turkish government on how to support the safety of patients who decide they wish to travel to Turkey for medical treatment. A government spokesperson said, "We urge anyone considering a cosmetic procedure abroad to research the treatment in question and the qualifications of their clinician and the regulations that apply in the country they are traveling to." And I guess that's the nope, that's just car wash. That can't. Oh, Brown said that Kadel had just celebrated her 38th birthday and invested in the cosmetic procedures to treat herself after going through a tough time. Wow, that is really sad. Over the last several years, she was a mother. That's even sadder. She was a mother of 2 boys, aged 12 and 16. The family is still awaiting a cause of death from Turkish authorities. That is,
Yeah. Now, let me say this, though. This is actually, now that I read it, this is not the story I thought it was. This is one I didn't know about. The one that I thought I was looking up is basically the same story, but a woman travels to Turkey. She's just going to have a breast augmentation and she's going to have a BBL. And it's only $3,500. And she's like, wow. So she gets over there. She says they put her up in a hotel. Everything was great. She comes out of the surgery. Of course, she feels bad. And I don't know how long she was in recovery, but she comes back to the United States. Now, when she comes back to the States, she's just not feeling good. Like, it's just bad. She's getting sicker and sicker, all kind of problems. And so she goes to the doctor and she's like, I don't know what's going on. So he runs all kind of tests. They don't really find anything. And so, she's having some pain. She's having some back pain and just a few things. And so he decides, she says she's been out of the country. She told him where she had gone for her surgery. So he decides to do I don't know if it was an MRI, probably a CT scan. Anyway, he does the CT scan and realizes that one of her kidneys are missing. And I think it was part of her liver, one of her kidneys, and something else. But part of something else was gone. And so she did not pass away, but they're basically saying, I don't know, she's stuck now because she went to Turkey to do this, and now she has to take all this medication. She's going to be sick the rest of her life, and terrified that something is going to happen to the only kidney that she has. And the whole point of that story and this other one is, like, we go to extreme measures to find satisfaction within our own bodies, looking in the mirror, whatever, because we're not satisfied with how we are. My question, and I understand, there's a standard of beauty, blah, blah, blah. But let me just say this. I have met many an unattractive person who was very happy. They had,
I'm one of
partners
them.
that loved them. No, I mean, like they have partners that they love, and they're in a committed relationship. They don't have these problems, but so I'm basically what I'm saying is beauty obviously does not bring you happiness. So why do we feel what is in us that drives us to do crazy things for satisfaction, for happiness? Like what's this about? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, yeah, it definitely feels like a constant, almost like an internal pressure to just move forward. I thought to remark at the time I read it, but I waited. Uh, she said she had invested in this after to treat herself after
Mhm.
several rough years or something like that. Which
Right.
are which are two things, by the way, that do not correlate whatsoever. Investments and treating yourself are almost the opposite, I guess. Unless you're investing in your likelihood to find a man or something. I guess
I
I,
guess.
it is, but I think that was a quote, right? Which kind of
Yes.
points to the direction at which we see these things. She she used the word investment, but she also said it was to treat herself, meaning that you know it, we're almost like have these hazy lines between you know taking care of ourselves and what's actually good for us, and what it even means to do something that's good for you, because that obviously, in a vacuum, if everything had gone appropriately, who's to say that's actually good for you regardless, right? Like, if you're, I don't know, I guess there's a lot of different things I'm
Well,
thinking,
I
a lot of
I,
different ways
I
you could
don't.
take
I
it.
mean, I don't think it's healthy at all in any case scenario. But people are desperate for happiness because yeah, I'm assuming as well that she's a single mom, she's got two kids, she's had a few bad years. I'm thinking she is going to do all this augmentation to her body in hopes of finding a happy relationship, right? But is that I mean, yes, we all want a great relationship. So do I. But is that can we not find satisfaction? Can we not do this
I don't
without
know. Yeah.
morphing
In
into
this
something
particular,
else?
who knows? In this particular case, it could have been a couple of things. It could have been lack of confidence. I will say the surgery, the whole what the it wasn't a BB just the BBL. It was like a full body thing, right? It was the tummy tuck, and it was like three different things: breast job, a tummy tuck. My camera stopped working. That's
Yeah.
cool. Uh, let's see here. I'll have to fix that in a second. It was three. It was a whole transformation. Is what I'm trying to get at, and that could be from a lack of confidence, or she could have literally just been wrapped up so far into beauty culture where, she requires someone who matches her on her like physical appearance level at this point. It may no longer be about the happiness of a relationship, which I mean is a whole top. I mean, I've got a list of 10 different things that make people feel unsatisfied in life, and I was starting to toy around with the idea of just tackling one per episode.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I was thinking too. Because they're so in
yeah,
depth.
they really are. And we talked about connection last week, and we'll upload that to this channel here soon. But I think the thing that is just so difficult is for people is to settle in to who you are or where you are. You know what I mean? I feel like I wrote some notes down here a second ago. Yeah. So norms around beauty, wealth, living in general can create chronic dissatisfaction. People used to lose their minds chasing riches when all it would afford you is a soft shirt, well-made sandals, and the ability to meet with other influential people. And people would commit ridiculous crimes against humanity in efforts to achieve this wealth or status or whatever. But
Well, I mean, I can see. All right, if you are, let's talk hundreds of years ago. If you are sleeping on the ground or on a hard straw bed that, maybe has fleas or I don't know, and you are cold and you only have one set of clothes, I can see to a certain degree trying to work hard and, buy a mattress, or get, make it better, whatever. I can see, but I guess my question is, at what point do we have enough to be satisfied and say, you know what, I'm good. I'm good, because I don't think, is it just our human nature that we can't be satisfied?
I mean, someone mentioned that earlier. Someone said that. I have to go back and find it. Someone else said that as well. Is that human nature? And is that why the gravity of pain is such that it is? We
Is
can
Colton
feel like
with us? Col-
I can hear you.
can you hear what Josiah's saying?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
Camera froze, so
That's
I
not
can't
good.
see his lips either.
You can't hear him at all?
No.
I would try to back out and come back in.
I did that. I'll try again.
Here, I'll kick you out and you come back in.
well, that ain't good.
Let me. I'm kicking speaker. Okay. Yeah, because he's got to be able to hear. Now what were you saying?
I have no idea. I was oh yeah, we were talking about is it human nature to be unable to move forward or to be satisfied rather? Is that why we can feel the depths of sadness and pain like nearly infinitely, but happiness is fleeting or joy is temporary? Is that just our biology? Is it possible to live in a state of bliss?
No.
Is it worth it to do heroin so you know what it's like to be happy for days on end? These are the questions that are important, I think. No,
no,
not. I've
No.
never done. Go ahead.
You're not supposed to say those words, just so you know.
Hey, it
But
exists.
it does. But that's the thing. I mean, it's like, at what point are we designed to be unsatisfied? Are we designed that way? Is that why we just keep striving and striving? Is that a good thing? Were we made that way? Or is this something that is part of a fallen nature?
I don't know.
What do y'all think?
It almost feels like I think if you look at if you look at it from an angle of evolution, maybe our brains became more wired to be uncomfortable and not willing to settle for I guess like the betterment of everybody. They say that, what is it? How does that phrase go? It's necessity is the mother of invention. I think that I really think that having to have necessities is what our brains maybe have kind of almost evolved to, but it feels like it's devolved at this point because we simply cannot be happy about anything. Really, not long term.
No, I mean, I think that's shown everywhere. We're always looking for the next best thing, and I think this is why it leads to. Oh, there we go. We've got a Colton. Can you hear this time?
Just us talking.
I am now. Can you hear me now?
Very faintly, yeah.
Well, that's better than nothing, I reckon.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out sometime. But anyway, yeah, and I mean tonight I wanted to talk about some of the things that, cause us to be dissatisfied, that cause us to not feel content. Because I think there is a difference between happiness and satisfaction. And I think satisfaction is definitely something that is more important to talk about. I think we've kind of established that happiness is fleeting, even when you have it,
Yeah.
But satisfaction is something that is daily. I think being content, being comfortable with where you are, not, wanting to spend thousands of dollars to travel to a different country to have your entire body remade, I think that's a form of contentness as well. And there are a
Yeah.
couple things, there are a couple of ways I think that you can find contentness, and there's a couple of things, or satisfaction. I think there are a couple of things that really keep us from it. If you had to name one, what do you think might be one of the strongest contributors to lack of satisfaction?
I think this is just me personally. I think comparison to other people is a huge one. Because I remember when I was, when I got my first car, it was an old Beetle, Volkswagen Beetle, which I loved. Like, I loved that car, and it was literally a piece of crap. It was freezing. Cold air would pour in the winter. It was hot. It had no air conditioner. It was hot in the summer, freezing in the winter. I loved that car, and until my best friend, about a year and a half after I got my car, her dad bought her a now it was used, okay, it wasn't like grandiose, but he bought her a Ford Mustang, and it was very pretty. It had plush seats, it had air conditioning, it actually stayed on the road, unlike my Beetle. And so yeah, yeah, still hands down my favorite car ever, but I would say don't buy a Volkswagen Beetle. They're in the shop more than they run. Um, love them, but when she got her car, all of a sudden I didn't like my car anymore.
Yeah,
The thing that I loved so much that quickly in comparison to hers, I'm like, oh, I'm not living like I should be living. I mean, nothing changed. My Beetle was always a piece of crap, and I always loved that piece of crap. The only thing that changed is my visually seeing something that a friend had. And I was happy for her. Don't get me wrong. I
sure.
loved to go places in her car, and I
I
was
bet you did.
excited for her. But yeah,
Yeah,
because mine didn't go
isn't that
anywhere.
the yeah, isn't that the weirdest thing about comparison? It's like, oh, you can be jealous, and you can even like hate somebody because they have nicer things than you. But if they ever offer you to go along with them in that nice thing, you're not gonna be like upset. You're not gonna be like, oh, I hate how nice this car is. You'd be like,
No.
oh, look at that! Finally, I get to take it for a spin. And I had a very similar experience. My first vehicle was a 2000 Pontiac Grand Prix with zero working windows, zero air conditioning, a busted head gasket, and a transmission that would slip constantly in third gear. And the thing is I would drive that to school. Regrettably, I would be seen in that vehicle, and I saw so many people. The thing is like when you have a car that's bad, that bad. Everyone has a nicer car than you, and I don't know if it just like I guess it's different if you have one person to compare to, and you go, oh, that's nice. I wish I could have that. Or as opposed to like if everything surrounding you is better than what you have, it's a little different actually. At least it
Yeah.
was for me. I never felt jealous. In fact, I noticed two things. I noticed one, I was just thankful to have a car. I was thankful that I was able to drive where I wanted to go. I thought that was, up to that point in my life, of course, I had to be taken somewhere. Anytime I had to get, have someone take time out of their day to relocate me. And just being able like to have the freedom to be like, I want to go to McDonald's and then just go to McDonald's or Taco Bell or like the park or whatever. Like just, to do that. Somehow, seeing how bad I had it made me more grateful that it wasn't worse. I don't
Really?
know how that.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because it was just so bad. The car was so terrible that I was just like, well, I'm just glad. Because thing is like, and the other thing I was going to say is that the people around me, there were people who had really nice cars. Like at that time, I think the Dodge the Challenger or the Ford. I don't know, dude. Is that car that real muscular, beefy sports car? It was popular in like 2010, and so
probably a
and,
Charger. Probably a Charger.
Camaro actually is what it was. It was the
Oh.
Camaro. It was the one with the tiny windows, a very distinct look. And I had friends. I will say this, by the way. I actually had an opportunity to buy. Okay, this is a whole story. I don't really want to go into it, but I had an opportunity to own a Camaro instead of the crappy car that I got. We test drove one, and the passenger seat belt was slightly broken. And so my dad was like, well, you can't get this car. The passenger seatbelt is sort of wonky. What if you have to take your brother somewhere? And so one day, without my knowledge, he spent all the money that I had saved up on a car from a used car dealership. And it was the Pontiac that had no working windows, no AC, no transmission. I was like, how is this better? How is this less dangerous? He'll have a heat stroke in here. He'll die, whatever. Anyway. So my friends had a Camaro, and it was weird because they didn't really seem to appreciate having that
Right.
Camaro. It was bizarre. Even they didn't even look at mine and see it and go, wow, I've got a good car. They just didn't care. It was just another car to them. And I guess part of that too was what made me able to appreciate the fact that it's like I almost started appreciating the small things. Like at least my chair isn't made out of wood. It's just weird stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, comparison definitely is the thief of joy, I think.
What do you think, Colton? What is the thief of joy? What?
If you had to say one thing that keeps you dissatisfied or that keeps people dissatisfied, what do you think it might be? Like
I'd say setting expectations for people, like without ever talking to them about it. Like that happens almost every time someone meets someone else. You expect them to do this. Well, I would, if I were in their shoes, I would do this. And I don't know. They're a bad person because, I don't know. But,
Yeah.
You have any personal anecdotes to tell about a situation like that? Any stories?
I'm not sure at the moment.
I know what you're saying though. It happens all the time in relationships. You'll meet somebody and they are attracted to you because of what they think you are, and then you're not that or whatever, and then they're like, oh, this is a problem. I don't think I like you anymore.
Well, but then you have the deterioration of relationships. The more I see social media, the more I think, is everybody in this world cheating? And if they are, why? Because at one point you loved this person and you were committed to them. So were they just acting? You didn't know who they were? Because I don't think that's the case necessarily. Or did they just become less attractive to you and you started chasing, somebody at work or somebody else that is more attractive? And because look, people age. We're all going to look like potatoes at some point. So what is it that it seems like people go from relationship to relationship, and thus others are out here getting BBLs and in Turkey
Yeah.
because they are trying to fit some kind of standard because they're not satisfied. But why? What makes us unsatisfied with relationships?
Oh, man, we need a
Is
court
it
reporter
media?
because there's so many notes I want to take. That's a subject. That's a topic I actually want to get into as well. Hold on. Why cheat? That's fine. That's all I need. Man, I've always wanted to delve into that because I've never cheated on somebody.
Me
but,
either.
I have been cheated on. I think almost feels like everybody
Same.
has. It's hard to meet someone who's like, every relationship I've ever had ended amicably, and we went our separate ways and all that. It seems like that never happens. But I will say this. I am very loyal. Okay, like to a fault. Like actually, to the point that it's unhealthy for me. But there was a time where I was
Same.
dating somebody, and I understood for a moment why people might cheat, because being that I was in a relationship, I had the confidence to pursue someone else if I wanted to. It's different when you're by yourself. You're lonely or you're single. You don't have that much confidence in yourself. You don't have somebody in your corner, so you don't think, you may not think that you're worth it or something like that. But when I had someone that I was dating and it wasn't going well, and there was an opportunity that arose that only arose because I was so much more confident, and I realized that having someone, and it may not be so. The other thing I think is that people don't they don't just switch from person to person, but they try to have both people at the same time. I think that's
That's masochism.
that's not
what
that's not
Samantha
loyalty. That's masochism. Being loyal to the point of personal pain. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess the thing is maybe at a certain point you decide that you're not able to resolve your issues with somebody, but I think ending it before you give it a good shot is it's stupid, man. It's stupid. I think.
I mean, I'm the same way though, to a fault. I'm loyal, and I stay in relationships way too long. Um, or that's been my MO all my life, is staying in a bad relationship because you made a commitment, you're trying to make it work, and it's never going to be easy with another human. I mean, you're going to have conflict. I guess it depends on the level of, cheating. That's that is a complete game changer. I'm out. Period. Not gonna. I mean, I've done the forgiveness thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It's all, and
No.
it usually repeats too. So you cheat on me, that's it. We're done. Uh, no, hands down, we're done. Anything else? I mean, if it's not like physical abuse or something like that, I'm gonna hang in there.
Okay, so then I was going to bring this up, but now I'm going to bring it up again, but in a different way. What do you think about emotional cheating, where they don't actually commit like a physical act with somebody, but they create distance between you and them in favor of either flirting or being best friends or whatever with somebody else?
I mean, I feel like most people would say that is cheating, and I've I mean, I'm conflicted because it's not physical cheating, but at the same time, to the person who is out, let's say, for example, the husband develops an emotional tie to somebody at work, and the wife doesn't really know anything about it. She's just knows there's distance. When it comes out, the wife is going to feel the same feels as if there had been a physical relationship. That betrayal is still going to be there. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even biblically speaking, is that adultery? I don't know that it would be adultery, but it sure feels like it.
Biblically, it seems everything was interpreted as cut and dry, but I think now that humans in general, that the global consciousness has raised, why aren't there more books of the Bible written every couple hundred years? Updated. We have amendments for the government and all this. Why isn't the Bible getting
That would be
updates?
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
that
weird
would
to me.
that would be good. Now, I think the principles are the same. It's just, you have to figure out, how to interpret what does this mean, even though
Yeah, sure.
and I would
I mean,
say
it can't
that
be that hard to find 40 priests to be like, "Yep, that's God's word." Like, I don't understand. Anyway,
I wouldn't trust them.
well,
But
maybe
go
not these
through.
days, but
Okay, you said you had 10 things that cause dissatisfaction. What's the first one? Or something
oh my
about.
God, I've got 100 notes open. Here we are. So the first thing was unmet expectations. I think some people set high expectations for themselves and may not be able to actually achieve those things. I think part of that is comparison with you know, it's strange. You know, you can see other people's lives and want that and not be able to achieve that, and so you can be made uncomfortable by that and dissatisfied in general.
Well, I think that's what Colton was saying, and about relationships is unmet expectations, and I
Well, he
guess
used the
it's.
word expectations, but I think his context was a little bit different. But I mean
I mean,
expectations you
well,
put on yourself. Like
expecting some. Oh, I thought he meant the other person. What did you mean, Colton?
he did. What I meant was you put expectations on yourself. He was saying that people will expect something out of somebody else, and they may not live up to those standards. Something like that.
Um, I'm I'm a little lost in the conversation, or a lot of lost. But it, have we talked about like why or what happiness is, or what maybe people find happiness in different places? Um,
That's a good
Well,
point.
I mean, what is the most important? Okay, you're right. People do find happiness in different places, because some people real and I have never been one of these people, but some people find extreme happiness in their line of work, and everything else, like relationships, whatever, is on the side. It's just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because my joy is here. Other people have it in relationships or family or whatever. So, do you think, Colton, that most people only have one high level area of happiness?
um, no, I well maybe. Um, I well happiness is tricky, right? Are we talking about happiness as in like dopamine and endorphins released in your brain and just like
Well,
euphoria,
yeah.
or
Yeah, but you can't maintain that. I mean,
yeah,
state. Although
yeah.
people do, and that's why there's substance abuse and everything else. They want that dopamine hit. But what is happiness? I think when you couldn't hear, we were talking about, is happiness constant, or is it in moments?
Happy. Mm. Well, it's definitely in moments. Nobody's happy all the time. Um, but I would also say that well, this is a quote from Jordan Peterson that I always liked. He always said that people that happiness isn't like that important, right? Because really what you need is like an antidote to all the suffering in life, right? And to find
Hmm.
meaning in things. And so I would say that I think people find meaning in different things. And I think some people are built differently. I'm not entirely sure this is true. This is just my theory, but like people like engineers, for example, are much more, how would you say, like focused on things like external items around them, all the time. Whereas there's some people, like maybe a psychologist, is way more interested in people and connections with human people. And I think a lot of people aren't even looking for connection with other people to be satisfied. Um or maybe their idea of connection is weird. It's more of like how what kind of reaction they can get from people. So they try to get I mean, even I think you guys were talking about cheating on your partners a minute ago, and even
Hmm.
that I think that part of that could be like social conditioning, where people, like in a super success driven culture, um, where like people are like judge you based on who you're dating or what your girlfriend looks like. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that plays a big role, in the people you're around, and possibly even like from an existential perspective, people might cheat when they experience a crisis of meaning or feel trapped in their everyday mundane lives, and it feels like an escape. And I think that's just like an impulsive pleasure, which you could maybe call like immediate happiness, but I don't think that would be that's obviously not. There's no way to sustain like
No.
impulsive gratitude all the time without serious consequences.
Yeah. I mean, I I guess that's true, and I think this is probably why we have so much substance abuse, because somewhere along the line, like I remember my grandparents talking, and I remember them talking about their families and um, how hard it was during really harsh times in the U.S. and a lot of poverty and et cetera, et cetera, and they didn't, I mean, such basic things made them happy. They had dinner on the table. Um,
I mean,
they didn't expect, I guess is what I'm saying, a dopamine hit every minute, every day. Like it just
yeah.
didn't happen. And they weren't looking for it.
I mean, look at third world countries like I don't know too many examples. I know I've seen a lot of people videos. I was interested in the Philippines for a little while for a couple reasons, but they anyway, the people there, like I'd see people Americans moving there, and they talk about the culture there and blah blah blah. Like people were so happy all the time, like and the way they talked about how the females were, they were like what what my grandmother describes females were like back in the 1950s. If anyone's old enough to maybe know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, right. And because we're talking about unmet expectations being the, you know, one of the major causes of unhappiness. So yeah, it was a totally different life, back in the 50s. And it's like somebody, I think it was Samantha in chat, she says that, I think people's, let me highlight this for y'all. Um, well,
Oh,
goodness.
that's weird. She said 1950s also.
Yeah. She says, I think
She
people's
says,
idea of go ahead.
sorry. I think people's idea of happiness and expectations comes from their upbringing. In the 1950s, women thought that happiness came from marriage right out of high school and having kids, keeping the house. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I have some thoughts about that. I really think that people may be a lot more may seem a lot more dissatisfied now because in the 1950s it wasn't in the news. Local housewife is depressed. Like no one cares. You know what I mean? But now
Yeah.
everyone's like, attention, I'm depressed, and people are like, hey, me too, man. Let's talk about that. So
I also wonder.
Yeah.
It could be like part of the culture, like what
Hmm.
year was it when women were finally allowed to vote? And then like it wasn't that long ago.
Well, it was before the 1950s, but they
And
still hadn't evolved into the workspace like we are now.
I've seen different opinions of people feeling like those people were like chained to their husbands, like through like culturally, and like religion and church was a lot bigger back then, and there was a big push for don't divorce, or you look the whole community is going
Hmm.
to look down on you. So people would stay in unhappy marriages for quite some time. My grandmother in particular, she stayed in an unhappy marriage for from what I can tell was a way too long. um, and she just felt like it was what she was supposed to do, and then and I think now there's so much talk online about, you know your husband's abusive or he's blah blah, like you need to get away. These are signs that something worse might happen or blah blah, and like people are like listening to that. That's the kind of word going around now instead of don't leave your husband, like you guys are bound forever.
Yeah, a quick trip to the relationships subreddit, and you'll find help. My husband didn't make me a sandwich when he told me he would. What should I do? And everyone's like, divorce him, leave him, get out of there, girl.
Yeah,
You got to
true.
find a better future, whatever. I'm like, it's just a sandwich. Samantha Springman said, Brain has a point too. Back in the 50s, depressed women risked lobotomy, which is true.
Yes.
It's terrifying. It's something I've considered doing to myself sometimes. I wish I was either smarter or dumber. I don't like where I am right now. But anyway. Yeah. But go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, so we think of the 50s as, women being happy, staying in the home, blah, blah, blah. But were they really? Because, yeah, you can see all this stuff. Like Colton was saying, his grandmother wasn't happy, but you stay together. So are we happier now that we know we're not happy and we're going to change it?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're in a transitory stage as human beings, right? Maybe the 50s in that era was about, pretending to be happy. And now we're just realizing for the first time as a global collective that, nope, we're not happy at all. And maybe we'll find a solution. Maybe it's, antidepressants or something.
I mean,
have you guys tried antidepressants before?
I have.
Did it work?
There's one certain one that worked for me, but my depression was always situational. Like I was in a really bad situation and I just could not function. And there were periods of time, I think the longest time I was ever on an antidepressant was like a year. And at the end of that year, I found myself a lot fatter. And I thought, you know what? The situation has resolved. I need to just come off this. And that was like, I don't know, like 10 years ago or more.
So what were the effects that then? Like, I've never been on one myself. So I'm curious, like, how did that affect you? What was it like day to day?
Well,
What were the
for
differences?
me, this particular antidepressant works really, really well and really quick. The biggest thing is it squashed my anxiety and panic attacks I was having due to the situation. And I think it just made me, I can't say it made me happy, but made it it made life tolerable. Like I didn't think about, just jumping off a bridge or something. It was like, okay, this sucks, but we're going to keep going rather than
Some people,
I can't take this anymore.
Sure. Some people are going to hear that description and think she's talking about marijuana, isn't she?
No.
I was
No.
fatter. Life was more tolerable.
It does
It's really
sound like
fast. It works immediately.
Okay, disclaimer, I am not saying anybody should take this drug because a lot of people can't take it. It has adverse effects. I took Lexapro. And it does. It gets
Well,
in
that's
your
the whole
system.
thing is that it's your specific chemistry that, like, I think,
Yes.
isn't it, that's like anyone who takes antidepressants have to go through rounds and rounds of trial to find something that works for them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I didn't.
Okay,
I got
yeah.
lucky.
So do you think that, okay, I guess my biggest question is, did you feel like your baseline unsettled nature, like your desire to change things and move forward and all that, do you feel like that was suppressed at all?
Yeah, I think that there were things I didn't care about. I think along with not having low lows, I also had a lot of apathy. Like, who
Yeah.
cares? Who cares? And I don't think that's good. It's not good for me. I am a very driven person. Like I'm always, and y'all have known me for a long time. I'm always into something. The past 4 years it's been YouTube in one form or another. Before that it was church, volunteering here, there. It's like I'm always doing something. And
What should people take if they are already apathetic? Then naturally,
I don't know. Like, I
I
don't
guess. Do
know. Maybe you need
'cause you've been-
counseling.
maybe so. If you've been in the medical field for as long as you have, I think 30 years or something like that at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Do you
Mhm.
think that it is feasible that prescribed drugs and medications could solve this general unwellness?
Okay,
And
say that again.
do you think sadness can be fixed with drugs for everybody?
No. I don't even think it
No,
I don't think for the most part it even helps people who take them.
it does feel that way, doesn't it? Meet a lot of
Well, I
people
mean,
who-
yeah. I mean, like I said, my situation was situational. My depression was situational because there were some things going on. It just hurt my soul so bad. I could not cope. And I
yeah,
was breaking out in anxiety, panic attacks. And so once what it did is it dulled. Now the situation never changed. Let me make that clear. Situation didn't change, but it dulled me
right,
down to the point that I could grieve the loss and process it. And then, after a year, I was at the point where, okay, I understand that this is my life now, and I'm going to make it better, and I'm going to go on from here. It just kept me from going too low. Does that make sense?
yeah.
And so when I
So it didn't
realized,
really
yeah.
solve anything. You solved your own problems, but it gave you the space to do so.
Yes, yes, because sometimes grief in situations, and it's not even necessarily death, it's the loss of a friend, whatever. Um, yeah, it for me it triggered a lot of old memories and
Hmm.
abuses. So I had to have that space. It's like, okay, I need to not grieve so heavily and figure out
Yeah.
how to cope.
So you said
Uh,
that the antidepressant made you numb. So what would you recommend for somebody that's numb that wants to be unnumb? Is there a depressant pill or
No, I mean, I don't know. I honestly think that in a case like that, it's there could be other medical reasons. If it's not psychological, then there could be medical reasons that uh maybe a different. I mean, you don't need an antidepressant if you're already numb, because it does numb you. That is the very last thing that you need. Um it depends on where it's coming from. Sometimes it's chemical, which and if you want to get technical, so is happiness. We talked about the serotonin levels and the dopamine levels. That
yep.
is, the dopamine hits. That's what we call happiness, euphoria. Yay! I'm going to Six Flags. I'm on a roller coaster. It's a great day. Well, that's not going to happen every day. And I mean, I think the same thing though. Some people have a low dopamine and serotonin. I mean, I guess there are some antidepressants that there's just so many side effects with antidepressants.
Sure.
I'm not a big fan at all.
A lot of folks, think that I guess you could compare. If you wanted to think about it, a lot of folks are like, oh, if I could only do this, if I could only have that, I would finally be happy. Blah 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 blah. But I mean, you really could just compare it to like a trip at Six Flags. Like, how many times would you ride a roller coaster before you're like, all right, what else? What's next? Like
Yeah.
how many times could you ride Goliath and fly through the air like a bird, like a Greek
Yeah.
god, until you're like, this sucks. Let me
Yeah.
eat like a giant hot dog or something.
somebody asked if I was in a trance. I'm leaned over into my speaker so I can hear better.
I'll have to say who said that. Mythical. um, yeah, I think Samantha. I think you're right. It's funny how pills always seem the magical answer. Why no push for coping skills? Well, I
Because that
think it's
takes work. and it's
Yeah.
hard and it doesn't do anything. You have to do it. I mean, okay, here's the thing. For some people, yeah, taking drugs is the answer, temporarily at least. For some people, their situation is. I was going to bring that up earlier when you were talking about your situation. It was due to the intensity of what you were feeling that antidepressants worked for you at the time. And I also capped it off by mentioning and realizing that you essentially solved your own problem. You went through the grieving process. It gave you space to do it. And then when you got off, you were better.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I
some
still had to
people-
work through the situation because it like I
Yeah.
said, it hadn't changed. But I'm like, okay, now I can learn how to cope with it.
Mhm. And some people, some people just can't imagine going through the work. I mean, I don't know. Some people want to feel a big change immediately. Some people think that they're
Yeah.
just being held back by one small thing, and that if that changes, my whole life will change. And that's rarely the case. Especially as someone with ADHD who's been prescribed medication for it, and all the hundreds of posts and stuff I've seen where people are like, yeah, I'm 40 years old and I took Adderall, for example. I took it for the first time in my life, and now everything is different. I can't believe I'm like, other people have been like this, and yada yada yada, and it's the same story over and over again. But as someone who has been through that, like, yeah, it's very helpful. It does a lot of great things, but it certainly didn't solve a lot of problems that I have. Like, sometimes it's general apathy. Sometimes it's a lack of motivation. Sometimes it's lack of direction, which is another thing on this list that I have here. Some people don't have any purpose or meaning, and therefore they have a lack of direction. And
Yeah.
what do you think that kind of, where do you think that you can even find purpose outside of having children? I think is, some people will start a business, and just, some people go too crazy trying to find purpose. They'll put themselves 70-hour work weeks,
Yeah.
just to avoid or to feel like they have purpose, But like, where do you think purpose lies?
Um, before that, what you were just saying, I think sometimes, I know this is maybe probably a bad. All right, I'll start by saying this. For one, there is a lot of bad advice going around. All right, and this, what I'm about to say, is probably also bad advice. But sometimes, um, it's hard. I have to wonder if sometimes, like, things like alcohol or marijuana are sometimes temporarily like the best option someone has. So, for example, say someone is in an abusive relationship, but given the circumstances, they're in a position where they can't really do anything about it. Maybe the cops are crooked. When they call, they're not going to get the right results, or they're scared that they're going to get hurt even more, or whatever. And they're just stuck in a bad
Mhm.
situation, and it's so intense that they can't really, you say, like, grieve the loss of the person or the life they imagined having, whatever. They can't grieve it because everything is so intense, and really the only thing they can do is try to pass the time and without being as miserable as possible. So they do things like smoke weed and drink, and maybe that's beneficial for the time. It's like the only option. Obviously, it's not a long-term solution, but
Right. Yeah.
sometimes it's
And
hard to, it's hard to say, like, someone's in so much pain that it's like, who am I to tell you that alcohol is bad for you right now? Like,
yeah. And I think that's the difference is that there, it's certainly possible to, um, temporarily solve your problems with usage of things like this. I think the problem is that, just like with prescription medication, that becomes the solution. Like, there isn't really a sometimes it makes you feel comfortable enough to where you don't look for alternatives, or you don't seek to solve the problem.
well, I
And that
think it after a period of time, I would have to disagree. I think after a period of time, people get miserable in that just as much. So it's, like I said, it's definitely not a long term solution. But in the short term, do you think if someone is just as miserable as can be, like they had the worst day, their whole family died in a car crash, they're like husband left them, now they're homeless, and they're sitting there, and all they can think is they want to kill themselves, but maybe they can drink it away for tonight and tomorrow wake up and deal with it. It's like that's obviously a very nuanced situation, but
Yeah, it was also a little strange to be like, the husband's going to be like, wow, your entire family just perished, huh? Anyway, I just met this girl at work and we're going to go out for drinks. I left the divorce papers on the table.
I mean, I'm talking about the worst day ever.
That is a
Oh,
pretty
no,
bad
no,
day.
no. Oh, let me tell you. No. No, I have a bad day. I was just thinking about this yesterday. I had a bad day. I was married to really a complete POS. And
Point of entry system?
no.
Oh.
but okay, so something wasn't right. I knew something wasn't right, but we were both working hard. And okay, I got the flu. All right, it was really bad, and I mean really a bad round of it. And so he said, me being sick, me being the wife, you need to sleep on the couch because which wasn't very comfortable, by the way, but he said you need to sleep on the couch because I don't want you to make me sick. Not I'll sleep in another bedroom because you need to rest. And so I was laying on the couch, and I mean, sorry, TMI here, but I had the worst menstrual cramps and situation that hit me also at the same time. Okay, so I'm cramping, I'm a mess, I've got the flu, and wouldn't you know it, I felt my jaw start hurting and I got an abscess tooth. And it hurt so bad, and I was in so much pain. I was so sick and weak. I literally would flop from the couch and crawl. I couldn't stand up. I would crawl across the living room to the bathroom in the hall when I had to, spew out one end or the other. And then I would just slowly crawl back to the couch. I was like this for days.
Why didn't you get a bucket?
Well, that would have required standing up and, well, you don't want to bucket off the south end. I mean, you're going to make it to the bathroom. Like, look, I can't. And so,
why don't you just move the couch to the bathroom then?
yeah, right. So I'm
Easily
laying
solvable.
there. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? No, so I am in utter misery. I've been laying there for days. He never said, "Hey, do you need some juice? You might be dehydrated. Is there anything I can get you?" No. He stayed gone a lot, and he walked in the door one day while I'm in this situation and said, "Hey, you know what?" He said, "I'm seeing somebody at work and I'm leaving. Bye." Yeah, I'm leaving you. I want a divorce. And at that
Probably
point, I
got
was
tired of probably got tired of old Sicky in the living room, stinking up the place and spreading the germs everywhere. He wanted to be with a healthy specimen. Who
I
blamed
guess.
him?
Yeah, right. Gee, it was all my fault. Yeah. So, I'm sitting there thinking. At this point, I was so numb. I was so sick, and I was so numb. I'm like in my head. I'm thinking, well, don't let the door slap you in the rear end as you're leaving, because, uh, at that point, that was the worst day. That was like, not only do I wonder if I'm going to physically make it through all this, I couldn't even go to the doctor. He sure wasn't going to take me to the doctor. So I had to just lay there. And then, he says,
It's a
"Hey,
real
I
shame
want a
he didn't.
divorce."
It's a real shame he wasn't dating the doctor, because then he could have killed two birds with one stone. Lining you
Yeah.
up with her and
Yeah.
taking you to visit.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
unfortunate.
actually a couple weeks later, after he moved out, he wanted me to lend him my new car so he could take his girlfriend to another state to meet his mama. That was fun.
That takes balls. That takes balls.
That
to
was
say it.
also after he had asked me to co-sign on a new car for him. Like, are you out of your mind? Yeah.
Hey, well, you can't fault him for trying. He's reaching for the stars, I guess.
He was. No doubt.
But so you didn't did you Did you feel like drinking or anything like that to get through that, or what did you do? Did you just deal with it?
No, actually, I think it was the greatest gift he ever gave to me because it was in that moment. We had had some problems before, had broken up. He was unfaithful. That's why we had broken up. And we had worked through it. It was like a year and a half later. And, it really, at that point, I was so sick physically. I was just trying to survive. And I thought, you know what? This is a great gift because if you can treat me like this in this situation, I clearly am staying around here for no reason at all. And he left, and I, I instantly felt a whole lot better. I really did. I was like, you know what? It's over. Thank God. Thank God. I do not want to be married to this POS, not 1 second longer. So, you know.
Well, I guess that's one way to look at it. I guess for some people in some situations they don't have the ability to see the silver linings, like in the very particular situation Colton had brought up, where everyone perishes and then you're dumped on the same day, and also you whatever. Like say
Yeah.
you're at
It's
the
a bad day.
lowest of the low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say you're at the lowest of the low. I mean, I don't know. We kind of got off topic there for a little while, actually. Let's
Unmet expectations. That's where we're
well,
at.
yeah. Let's round this all off by talking about what do you think is the way to overcome? Okay, I'm just going to read you a quick list of things real quick, and I want you to
Okay.
absorb those and then think, how do you overcome this? Unmet expectations, lack of purpose, burnout, relationship issues, mental health challenges, desire for control or not having control in your own life, bad marriages or just circumstances. Realizing another big one was seeing the passage of time, and that it's escaping you, and you may not have lived up to your potential.
Yeah, that's a
General
big one.
disconnection. Yeah,
My bad.
you said you're like a preacher in church. Amen.
Yeah. Well, I found the perception of time passing one pretty interesting because see a lot of stories where people, when they get old, people ask them what they wish they would have done differently in life or whatever, and
What
it's
a way to
always
rub
like,
it in too, right?
always, I wish
Yeah.
I would have spent more time with my kids or my family. I wish I would have pursued my passions. I wish I would have did all these things besides chasing materialism all the time, and I think that's interesting to say the least, that people realize when it's like you would think it wouldn't be that hard to reverse engineer a good life, like look at someone who's happy at the end of their life and ask why, and most of them
Yeah.
aren't pursuing any of the things that most people are on a daily
That's
basis.
true. Very true. Like they say hindsight is 20/20, and yeah, I've always heard that even from my patients who are passing away, and I don't ask them, what do you wish you? Hey, buddy, it looks like you only got about 2 weeks. What do you wish you had done different? Like I don't do that.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. People say we gathered 100 frail and elderly currently dying. 5 answers on the board, and your answer was spending more time with the children.
Bing.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know,
You actually would get disappointed by a lot of the answers. I contracted a job at a nursing home one time, and I found this old man interesting, and I asked him what he would, if he had any advice that he would give to a young person, and he was like absolutely clueless. And I think that's I think you would be
Really?
disappointed by the answers you might get a lot.
that
I've
is,
lived 90 years and have learned nothing.
I really wish I'd met that man. So I mean, what would you do differently? I don't even remember what I did, honestly.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. That is hysterical. I mean, but you know,
Honestly, that's kind of a vibe, though. Honestly, like if I could get to 90 and be like, I don't know, I feel good now. It must have been great. Anyway,
I don't remember it,
know.
but I'm happy, so I guess I had a great life. You know?
it would feel like I won for sure. I don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. I feel like I have packed in about 5 lives into my years, so I don't really think I'll have a whole lot of regrets. I mean, certainly you have some, but I think that's at the end. And what Colton was saying earlier about people in the Philippines about being so happy, and like, look, that's a very, very poor country, and so it's clearly happiness clearly isn't from materialism. Satisfaction is not from materialism, but that's the whole thing that everybody pushes. Media,
well, not
whatever.
entirely, no. I've seen a lot of people say, yeah, sure, money doesn't buy happiness, but it does, how it essentially buys you the vehicle to help you attain happiness. You know what I mean?
Definitely makes life
Yeah.
easier in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can go
I
on
mean-
vacation. That makes me happy.
Or not have to worry
I mean, I
about
don't know.
your bills or your water not draining or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes you ever see like a poor person smile? Because I don't ever see a poor person smile.
Actually, I see a lot of homeless people on crack dancing like
That is
on their life.
that is that is significantly different. But I guess it counts too, huh? Depending on the time of the day.
I really think this is my opinion. I think probably the biggest factor for people being unsatisfied is there's just a lot of bad advice going around all the time. People, you ask someone for advice, like what I do. I'm in this hard situation. I'm working all the time. I'm unhappy. I still can't pay my bills, but I feel like I lost all my friends, but I can't leave my job because now I'm stuck. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Um, I forgot what the fuck I'm saying.
What yeah, I mean, so what's the bad advice that people get?
What's the what? Sorry.
The bad advice that you see a lot of people saying.
Oh, like work harder. That's not entirely bad advice, but yeah, I mean,
quit complaining.
Work
Try harder.
Work harder. Go to church, but it's like you hate everyone you work with, and you go to church and they're mean to you, and then it's like, what else advice? Go to therapy. You go to therapy, they don't listen to you, and they take all your money. And then it's like there's no like really self-help, and self-help is like so it takes so much like self-awareness, right, to even know what your real faults are and to accept them and then try to work on them. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort that I think a lot of people
that might be the goal of sorry.
I think a lot of people find happiness much quicker through avenues of impulsive pleasure, and it's much more attainable. I think it's why people just keep pushing. But as you know, like people that smoke meth or something, then they say they're always like chasing the first high, like they never get as high or they never feel as good afterwards. So
yeah. Which I was just going to briefly anecdotally mention. Do you think that the point of therapy is to become more self-aware so that self-help and stuff like that is more effective? Or
it should be. I'm not a therapist. I would imagine a good therapist would spend a lot of time listening, like a whole lot of time listening to someone. I don't know. I've never been to therapy. Have you guys been to therapy before?
No.
No.
But I've always been very self-aware. I've been like, so
I've been
this
in
is the
like
part of my brain that doesn't work.
I've been in like a group therapy, but um,
I mean, I haven't been to a therapist. I have had friends, not very many, but through the years, a few people here and there that I could really pour my heart out to and talk to. And to me, it felt like therapy. I mean, because I was really working out my own problems. They were just listening. And I think that's pretty much what a therapist does, and give you good advice. Sometimes the good advice is quit whining. Be grateful. And sometimes
Or
that's what you
join
need
a
to hear.
nudist colony.
Yeah, I saw that. I wanted to highlight that. Can you do that one again? Read out that
Yeah,
one.
I'll
That
pull
one
it
is
up
so
here.
funny.
I got called in for a home health case one time. It was the lady's 70th birthday. I asked her what advice to someone my age would be. She said, join a nudist colony. She said it was scandalized, but now it kind of makes sense. If everyone is, nude and vulnerable, appearances aren't so important, which is actually not how I would believe that to go. I would think that if you're going to join a nudist colony, that appearances are much more important because you can't. There's nothing to hide behind.
Yeah,
like when I was bigger, I would just wear bigger clothes that fit my shoulders and made me look, maybe not so chunky. But if you're like just letting it all loose, do you just cross a threshold at a certain point where you're just like you don't even see it anymore, or how does that work?
maybe you get desensitized or something.
Yes. I have watched documentaries. Now they fuzz out the parts that, but I've watched documentaries.
The reason you watched it, right? They fuzz out that part.
What? The reason I watched it is because, well, first of all, look, I have seen everybody's hoo-haws in this whole county. I mean, I've been a nurse for a long time. It's like it does nothing for me. It's just like,
Bring it up.
There's another one.
Like you're like you're at the county fair or like the governor's ball and be like, hey Misty, remember that time I seen your coochie? I just don't want you to forget. I was there.
I have said, to people, you know what, you can't embarrass me, or you can't rattle me. I've seen your rear end, so what you got.
Yeah.
You haven't
can't
seen
intimidate
mine.
me.
Yeah,
I've seen how small your balls are. So anyway,
that's not exactly what I would say to somebody, but
sure.
you know
Anyway.
what. But the point is, watching the nudist colonies, the documentaries that I've watched on it, you would think that they would be, I thought they were like a bunch of fit people, like out there strutting. No, look, the nudists, they got nothing to brag about. You got bosoms hanging down to the knees. You've got but they do seem happy. You're right, Colton. They really do seem like, hey, I'm free, and they do not care how many rolls, when they sit down, or how south their body parts have gone. They're just good.
Well,
They're
I
just good.
think this. I think you guys had briefly mentioned like the standard of beauty earlier, and I think there's standards in a lot of things. There's standards in how you dress based on where you are and your age, and there's standards on how you walk and how you talk and how you conduct yourself, how your manner. Like there's kind of like standards on everything, and it's like you can go against the grain, but it's not gonna like serve you well, as far as like having too many successful interactions. People more likely think you're weird or like be uncomfortable. I mean, I guess that's debatable, but you get my point.
So I wanted to round this all off by because I mean, again, I think I would love to tackle all of these topics individually. I think they are very in depth. But of course, we all have ADHD too, so I think we all kind of hop around.
Yeah, we do.
From time to time. But I think the most important thing that I wanted to tackle to round this whole thing off is, there are a lot of things that make us uncomfortable, that make us unhappy. I was giving you that list so that you could think about it. Unmet expectations, lack of purpose, burnout, bad relationships, mental health, no control over your life. Materialism is another one. Passing of time. Disconnection from nature and spirituality, anything like that, and just general societal pressure to be or act a certain way. all this stuff can make us discontent and unsatisfied. But what do you think? And I already have my answer because I wrote the list. Uh, what do you think would be if you had to pick one thing that helps circumvent all of those things? If you had to pick one thing that made all of those things bearable and that made you able to be satisfied no matter where you are in life, what do you think that might be?
For me personally, it's my connection to God, knowing who I am in Him, knowing that even if I don't know where I'm going, He does, and
Sure.
trusting. For me, it's just the link, because it's not. I think for a lot of people, religion is about, okay, I'm afraid I don't want to go to hell, and I'm going to live a certain way. That's not the way I think of it at all. It's like I have this relationship with God, and I know sometimes they want to throw you an institution for saying that, but I do. I hear what he says, and we have a real relationship. So it doesn't I know who I am. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going, but I know who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And if I have that, I just have to realize that all these other things that make me dissatisfied either have a purpose, I'm going to learn something, or I'm supposed to do something about it, you know?
Mm.
So that's my satisfaction, and you can't rob my happiness. That's the thing, is a lot of things. I've had a lot of horrible things happen in my life, but I mean, I might grieve for a minute, but you can't really steal my happiness, because the world isn't the source of my happiness. So how are you going to steal it?
Yeah, that's a very enviable position to be in. I'm sure a lot of people wish that they felt that kind of connection to God and whatever religion that they follow. So that is actually a very beautiful take. Colton, do you have any insight or any opinions on what do you think the best way to be content or be happy or overcome all these issues might be?
Um, well, I I don't want to say that I don't want to say that it's different for everyone, because I don't truly know that. I think um life can be very hard, and if you try to live in an eternal state of bliss, through whatever means, if it's drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever, that you won't um ever get there. Oh shit, what was I saying? What was the question? I'm so sorry, dude. One more time.
What the you're fine. What the solution to being unhappy or dissatisfied might be, if there is one.
Oh yes. Yeah, I think that there is inherently a lot of suffering in life, and you have to find something meaningful enough to combat that, right? And I think the nature of human beings is to always be progressing. Whether it's, like, you build a house, the next you want to build a table, then a chair, and then you build everything, and then now you want to start carving art into your table, and it's like there's always a desire for progression or learning of some sort. And in most people, I think, and so really, I think the only I think the best thing is to aim to be a little bit better than you were yesterday, and that's the only way, to not compare yourself to other people or the expectations of society, or any of that. And I think if you do that, then in time you will find meaning and find what gives you meaning and what um, really matters to you.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure
that's
that it's the same for everyone, so I don't know.
it might
Yeah.
be.
I
We
wish.
might all be the same person.
Yeah. I mean, I think we when we get to the end of life, we become more of the same person, even if we didn't do what the 90-year-old who does say, I wish I had spent more time with my family, blah, blah, blah. I, I think we tend to become more of the same person. And you're going to find more people that say the same things. It wasn't about my job. It wasn't about my house and car and my
Yeah.
money. It was about this. And I mean, I think that's a common theme. But I guess where I frustrate myself, and I've only just become self-aware of this in probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, of why, and asking myself over and over, why aren't you satisfied? Why aren't, I mean, there's always going to be frustration. Like Colton said, the sink that doesn't drain, whatever. There's always going to be frustration. But I think I've started looking at, I'm I'm not going to look at my friend's car. I'm not going to look at my friend's house and say, I could afford a better house. Why don't I just, why don't I, excuse me, do this? I think I swallowed a bug.
Bless you. My
Oh my
good.
goodness.
Yo, I did that. I did that a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember. Sucked it straight down. But that's a perfect transition into what my answer was going to be.
Swallowing bugs?
I think. Nope, that was accidental, coincidental, even. I think if there is one brief, like if there's one brief answer to how to maintain satisfaction, to be content, to circumvent the whole list of things that I mean, I don't know. I wish I could toss it up on the screen, but I genuinely think that if you have this, or if you do this, that you can be happy and satisfied no matter what. And I think that is thankfulness, the ability to
Yes.
maintain a state of thankfulness. I think that's one of the biggest, often overlooked principles in the Bible as well. But I think that humility and thankfulness also play largely into each other as well.
Yeah, you're right.
But thanks. I love that being right. Anyway, I'm
Of
sorry.
course you do. Of course you do.
But hey, I also love being wrong. That's my favorite thing, is a chance to learn. Like everyone's embarrassed when they're wrong, and they're like, oh no. But then I have that for like 1 second. I'm like, oh, I get to learn a thing.
I got a question. Is it possible to be 100% like contempt with the situation and also dissatisfied by it, or like not contempt, as 100% grateful for something, or for like life, and also dissatisfied with it. Like, say for example, I feel like people maybe have individualized modes of satisfaction based on their experiences, or maybe that you could, maybe at the core they're more related. But say for example, somebody that's in a wheelchair, and they deal with all kinds of problems their whole life, and then they go out and start a charity or some organization to help people with their specific problem, and that's where they find meaning or something.
Sure. So
Yeah.
I think that there's a difference between being restless and driven. I think that I guess inherently the topic of dissatisfaction or unhappiness or what have you, around our discussion, at the core of it was why are people always moving forward, often to ridiculous lengths, and why are they unhappy with where they are? And you're posing that, it may be your unhappiness that is the source of your happiness later, giving you the drive to achieve purpose, or what have you. And I think that's very profound, and I think that is certainly
Yeah.
possible. And your question was, is it possible to be thankful but also
Dissatisfied.
Well,
Like, say for example, you feel like you find meaning pushing for some idea in politics or a certain ideal or whatever,
right?
and you're 100%, you try to be, is it possible to be 100% grateful for where you are, but also dissatisfied with like how things are around you, like, or do you just become
Yeah.
contempt, is being grateful at its peak, where you kind of have to ignore things around you and live in bliss, like.
So I was gonna explain. Thankfulness because it's a. I mean, you can just say any word, and people can think with it. It can have connotations. But when I say thankfulness, what I mean is So for example, let's see here. There's a Samantha Springman said it's much easier to be content when we can realize that there are always people less fortunate than us, and I think that's a small part of it. But I will say this. If I am really hungry, it does not help me to think that there are people in Africa that are starving. You know what I mean? Like it's like not very helpful at all,
Or
actually.
is the goal to be
Uh,
grateful for bad things happening?
right, right. But
Yeah.
as a contrast, I could be thankful that I have access or opportunity to get the food that I not only desire but that I may want. That's another thing. I mean, even the ability to have a craving and then fulfill it for food. I mean, that's something that a lot of people do not have access to. I think
Right.
thankfulness in general isn't just like taking a moment and appreciating like I'm glad my life is well yada 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 yada. I really think that thankfulness is a lifestyle. I really think that if you can like every time you enter a room or you cross the threshold of any building or get into your car, no matter what's going on, just developing within your own mind that path, that neural pathway that goes to like I'm glad that I have this. I'm glad like I can appreciate this. Like I don't know. My car has transmission issues right now. But when I get in my car and it cranks, I'm immediately thankful that it turned on with no issues. I'm immediately thankful that my seats are comfortable and that they can be adjusted to the way that I want them to be. I can be annoyed that the telescopic steering doesn't pull up far enough, but I can be thankful that that it's still comfortable. I can be thankful.
Right.
My point being is that like thankfulness is broad, but I think developing a mentality of thankfulness is super helpful because I think no matter where you are or how maybe driven by your circumstances or things. Sorry, I saw someone said my name. I'll read that in
Yeah.
a second. Um, yeah, you can be like, yeah, I'm glad I'm not starving. I'm glad that I've got a girlfriend, or I'm glad that I've got this or that, or I'm glad I have clothes to wear and all this. But it's so much more than that because real thankfulness, as far as actually being helpful, is like just being able to constantly appreciate the world around you that you have,
Right.
that you live in. That's the hard thing, and I think the
Yeah.
line between dissatisfaction and thankfulness is that if you're dissatisfied to a point where you'll spend $5,000 and go to a different country and get a complete body makeover, I don't think that you'll be able to actually appreciate it even if everything goes together well. You'll see it, you'll enjoy it for maybe a month, and then at some point you'll find something else that you want to change about yourself. And thankfulness, it says, okay, wow, my body is gross, but at least it works, and at least I can do something about it. At least I can if I want to. Like me, I've been looking at myself. How small my arm is. Look at that. That's this like that's the least manly thing in the whole world. Is like there's no, but it bothers me. Yeah, I'm certainly dissatisfied by it. I've got a feminine frame now that I've lost weight, but I appreciate that this shirt I wouldn't have been able to wear a few months ago, and I've lost the weight that I can fit into it. And I am thankful that if this really bothers me, I can work out, and I can dedicate myself, and I can get bigger traps and quads and tries and forearms and all that stuff. And I think
So, so maybe you're not satisfied with everything going on, like not grateful for evil, but maybe it sounds more like you're finding the silver linings and things. You're trying to be
right.
optimistic.
Yes. So and I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, Selke. I know you're trying to say something. I just wanted to clarify. I think that if you look for the silver lining enough, you'll see so many silver linings that it all looks like one silver cloud.
Yeah. I think for me, and this has only happened in the past 4 years, but my house, my house. Look, I love her. I'm living now in a house that I bought, my own credit, my own money, everything that I work for. It is a house. It is the type of house that I wanted my whole life. An old, you know, and so when I bought it, it was such a dream come true. Now, I have severe issues, as people with old historic houses know. You have issues. And, sometimes I walk through the house that I love so much, and I am so thankful because it was a whole story. It was a whole God thing. And I look and I'm like, this doesn't work. I really need an electrician. This is a problem. And then I go and I'm like, is my floor falling in here? Like, am I going to have to replace the whole flooring in this section? But yet, and I get very frustrated sometimes with the things that don't work. But every single day for the last 4 years that I have lived here, when I am driving down the road and I say get to pull in my driveway, as soon as I pull in my driveway and I see this beautiful girl, like she's like a person. When I see this house, I am grateful every single time I pull in the driveway. I'm like, this is an amazing place. Yes, she's got her issues, no doubt, that frustrate me sometimes to no end. But I am every single day grateful that I live here, even though I'm not happy about all the things. I'm still ever grateful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I'm here. I'm not happy about the problems, but I'm happy and grateful that I get to pull into this driveway every day.
I bet that thankfulness helps keep you from having a total conniption every time you run across a problem.
I still have a conniption, but and it's like, I'm gonna say some days I'm like, why am I doing this? Yes, Pam, and I and my ghosts but sometimes I do, and I have the fleeting thought of I could make a lot of money on this house right now in this economy. I could come out probably a couple of 100,000 to the good. But I'm like, but I don't want to. I don't want to. Like, this is my home. This is my space that I love so much, and no other house is going to do this for me. So, you have the thoughts though. Ugh, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of all the things that don't work.
Yeah.
You said
Did you have
you said something a minute ago when we were talking about the silver linings that reminded me of a quote from Nietzsche where he says, I think if you stare into the abyss, or if you gaze enough long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you, or like basically like you'll see the light if you stare into the darkness long enough. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of find truth in that. Even if you look at all the problems around you, like if you look at them long enough, you'll find a solution. I think it's kind of one way to think about that.
For sure. I think if you look at enough problems, if you look at enough starving children in Africa, maybe you won't feel as hungry, too, at least for a little while. But I think that there is definitely a balance. I think the key is that there's a balance to be found between the never-ending pursuit of happiness and being content with what you have, but not to the point of complete and pure apathy. But
that's the hard part, because usually we get content and then we're apathetic. Yeah. That's a challenge.
Samantha Springman said, "What I have may not be new and shiny, but my house and vehicles are mine, free and clear. No loans, no mortgages. And that's better than most Americans can say." Which is a sentiment that I live by. I actually had the nicest car, aside from leather seating, which I didn't really want in the first place. It had everything, and I loved that thing. I put 60,000 miles on it in 1 year because I for work for one, but I drove it so much. But I have a car now that I paid for in cash, and it is not that good. It is the air conditioner. Well, so the vents in the thing, it doesn't blow. it only blows on my feet. So this summer has been very hot, except for my toes. And there's a lot of things that I could find issue with, but the fact that I own it it's just so freeing. I could drop off the face of the earth and take my car with me. I could park it in the woods somewhere and live in it, and no one would come looking for me. And I think that's really nice, even with all the problems that it might have.
Yeah. And I think that's why people in some of these other countries, like Colton was talking about, it seems like sometimes the less that you have, the happier you are. And I was having a discussion with Jamboree the other day, and I was talking about, sometimes I just want to leave this country. I do. When I look around at stuff that's going on. And I have a friend, she's not in the chat tonight, but she's from New Zealand, and we talk a lot. And she sends me pictures like I can't even remember how she messages me on one of the platforms, but she sends me pictures a lot of just the view from her back door. And there's this huge mountain that's snow capped, and it's summer, winter. Like, she sent me so many pictures, and I'm like, my God, that's beautiful. And so I was telling Jamboree, she's like, well, where would you move? And I'm like, well, I think I like New Zealand. Like, it seems like a really cool, chill place. And, maybe I could get into like sheep herding or something. I don't know. But I think, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm like, I think I could be content just in a little, cottage with a bunch of sheep. And I look out the door and I see these mountains. I'm like, that seems like pure happiness to me.
I highlighted this message that Pam Frenchman put in chat. I don't want there to be any I just wanted to leave it with no context. I thought that was pretty funny. But if I guess we're about to wind down now here. Like I said, I think I'd like to go into all these different topics, as well as why people cheat too. I think that would be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Of course, provided that no groundbreaking, terrifying news arises itself in the next 7 days, which it's 2024. That's going to happen. So maybe.
Yeah. What
maybe
do you
we'll
guys
get
think
around
about
to it.
Trump getting shot at yesterday?
Yeah.
I missed that. I guess I
Oh,
missed
yeah.
him too. What happened?
Well, I don't know that I don't think they got shot at him, but there was a guy close by with an AR set up with a GoPro set to kill Trump, and I guess the Secret
The
Service shot at
GoPro was
him.
set to kill Trump? Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
And
The technology
the Secret Service shot at him, missed, and then he got away, and then they ended up catching him on the interstate and arrested him. I don't think they've released a motive yet.
Dude, imagine, if you will, having GoPro footage of the assassination of a president. From the shooter's perspective, that would be, oh man. Of course I don't want it to happen, but
Well, I think it's like 4 football fields away. I don't know if you've ever used a GoPro. I use one quite often. They're meant for really close-up shots, right? They got a crazy wide angle. So from that distance, 400 yards, I'd imagine it would be the tiniest speck. I don't know if you'd be able to even tell who it was.
Put
Nah.
the GoPro on the bullet then.
But there's a
That would
big
be
case
sick.
for dissatisfaction. There you go. People, God.
Sure. But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
we're all winding down. According to the streaming software, it says that the live broadcast has ended. So I don't know if that's true or
No.
not. But
No, it's not. It's not.
I'll
No.
I'm gonna go ahead and
It's
and
still
wind
up
this
on my
down.
end.
Cool. Well, do you guys have any final parting thoughts? Anything that you think should be said to tack on to the end of this subject for tonight, or
I think we should all explore avenues and ways to tips on how to be satisfied in a world that just gives us many reasons to be dissatisfied or you know depressed, whatever. I think satisfaction and happiness, I think we should share, what's going to work. How do we
Yeah.
break the cycle of dissatisfaction and find real
I
happiness?
think it would also be interesting to talk later on about what we could do like culturally to give life, like at least open the avenue for more you know meanings for people to pursue their passions and things that like that they do find meaning in, like if they whatever they find meaning in, having time to do it or the drive to do it or whatever, we could, more than just on a personal level, which I think is the most important, but we could also talk about how as a culture and a society we could move towards that as a whole.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that. It turns out that I don't think that this is like a never-ending podcast. I think there's always something to talk about, something that needs to be discussed that not a lot of people talk about in general.
Yeah.
And I look forward to everyone coming along with us on this journey as we find out more and more about what in particular.
Yeah. And I would ask, please share. We're just starting. This is actually the first live. And, please share with somebody you think it might help, or I don't know, might find it interesting while they're gardening or whatever. Just share if you can and hit the like button. That helps. Yeah, we just, we'd love to have discussion. And I thank y'all, all of the people that usually come onto my channel that have been in chat tonight, because you're all so smart and I love you all so much. I appreciate you so much. You always make great comments, and thanks for being here.
Truly. But I suppose until next time, stay human.
Yeah. Stay human.
Take care, y'all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.